The time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Anjana Dudamgoda and read by Rumesh Piris. The headlines. The head of state appoints a commission to amend the electoral laws to suit the present-day needs. The President inaugurates Infotel exhibition to drive Sri Lanka's digital transformation. A landmark $15 million grant strengthens Indo-Lanka Buddhist ties. 11 Sri Lankans safely arrive in Egypt from Gaza. A 22-year-old injured in Peta shop fire succumbed to injuries. Litre gas prices to be increased from tomorrow. In news overseas, Blinken meets Netanyahu to push for concrete steps to protect Gaza civilians. In sports, it's cricket. Netherlands put Afghanistan to bowl first in a must-win game. Now the local news in detail. A 10-member commission headed by former Chief Justice Prasad Deb was appointed by President Ranil Wickremesinghe to amend the electoral laws to suit the present-day needs. The commission was appointed to obtain and submit information, investigate, inquire and examine all existing election laws and regulations and make necessary recommendations for the amendment of election laws. The President issued the Gazette notification to establish a commission with the mandate to propose revisions to election laws that aligns with contemporary requirements and uphold the integrity of political parties. This commission operates in accordance with the stipulations outlined in Section 2 and 3 of the Commission of Inquiry Act No. 17 of 1948. In a significant event held in Colombo, the exchange of bilateral documents took center stage, marking the initiation of projects supported by a generous $15 million grant from the Government of India. This grant is specifically allocated to bolster the long-standing Buddhist connections between India and Sri Lanka, underscoring the deep historical and cultural ties that bind the two nations together. The signing of the bilateral agreements took place at the President's house in Colombo yesterday. President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Finance Minister of India, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, engaged in lengthy bilateral discussions during this event. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's announcement of this substantial grant underscores the significance of strengthening Buddhist linkages between the two countries. The Embassy of Sri Lanka in Cairo, in coordination with the Egyptian authorities and the Sri Lankan representative in Ramallah, facilitated the entry into Egypt of 11 Sri Lankan nationals belonging to two families who were stranded in the Gaza Strip through the Rafah border crossing yesterday. A team of officials from the embassy received the 11 Sri Lankans at the Egyptian side of the Rafah border and has made arrangements to provide transportation to Cairo to facilitate their return to Sri Lanka. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. A 22-year-old female reportedly succumbed to the injuries she had sustained during the recent fire that tore through a clothing store in Peta. Police reported that the young woman had died while receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the Colombo National Hospital. The deceased, identified as a resident of the Waterville area, was amongst a total of 20 persons who were rushed to the National Hospital for immediate medical attention due to burn injuries and respiratory difficulties that a fire engulfed a clothing store on the Second Cross Street in Peta on the 27th of October. Litrogas Nanga, one of the country's two largest suppliers of domestic liquefied petroleum gas, is slated to announce a price hike tomorrow. According to the company's chairman, Mudita Piris, the price of a 12.5 kilogram domestic gas cylinder is expected to be increased by at least 75 rupees. He attributed the move to the price increase in the global market. In the months that have elapsed this year, Litrogas has increased its prices on 3 occasions and reduced the rates on 5 occasions. Following the rate revision in October, the price of a 12.5 kilogram domestic gas cylinder now stands at 3,470 rupees. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story. President Ranil Wickremesinghe inaugurated the Infotel exhibition to drive Sri Lanka's digital transformation, organized by the Federation of Information Technology Industries Sri Lanka at the BMICH today. This event, aptly themed Fueling the Digital Economy, aligns with the President's visionary initiative to modernize Sri Lanka through digitization. It is being conducted under the auspices of the State Ministry of Technology and will be held till the 5th of November. Acknowledging that the shift to the digital economy was a necessity rather than a choice, President Wickremesinghe outlined two key areas of focus. Firstly, he highlighted the need for enhancing human resources, especially in the education sector. Secondly, the President stressed the importance of post-school training at both technical and graduate levels. And that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, the National Child Protection Authority has received 7,523 complaints in the first 8 months of the 2023. More than 4,000 complaints related to crimes against children are related to the children in need of care, compulsory education and cruelty. And that came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to a bulletin of world news, first the headlines. Blinken meets Netanyahu to push for concrete steps to protect Gaza civilians. Russia's biggest drone strike in weeks hits critical Ukrainian infrastructure. Australia and China eye new ways to heal old wounds. Now the world news in detail. The US's top diplomat has been meeting Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to seek concrete steps to minimize harm to civilians in Gaza. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has reiterated U.S. support for Israel, but says everything must be done to protect civilians caught in the crossfire of Hamas's marking. Earlier, Israel's military said it had completed the encirclement of Gaza City and was attacking Hamas infrastructure. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says more than 9,000 people have been killed in the Strip since the 7th of October. Officials said Russia launched a massive drone attack early today, hitting critical infrastructure in the west and south of Ukraine and destroying private houses and commercial buildings in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city. The Air Force said it shot down 24 Shahed drones out of 40 launched by Russia, the biggest drone attack in weeks to target Kharkiv in the northeast and Odessa and Kherson in the south and the region of Lviv on Ukraine's border with Poland in the west. When Prime Minister Anthony Albanese touches down in Beijing tomorrow, he will be the first Australian leader to visit China in 7 years. It ends a hiatus triggered by a string of prickly disputes, including various Chinese sanctions on Australian goods and back-and-forth accusations of foreign interference. Now both sides have renewed ambitions and have cleared the way for the visit with a series of gestures, experts say. To end this World News Bulletin, headlines. Blinken meets Netanyahu to push for concrete steps to protect Gaza civilians. Russia's biggest drone strike in weeks hit critical Ukrainian infrastructure. And Australia and China eye new ways to heal old wounds. And that concludes World News.
Development News.
In development news, Executive Director of the Global Plantation Company, Dinesh Abhiratne, said Galway Plantations Private Limited will invest in constructing a bio-unit to produce more effective biofertilizers and reduce the use of chemical fertilizers. The company presently boasts one of the largest organic fertilizer yards in Sri Lanka, capable of producing over 7,000 metric tons per year. The new project includes expanding the existing yard, establishing a pulverizing unit and a soil lab. The goal is to introduce new fertilizer products to the country and encourage farmers to cultivate with biofertilizers. Improvements in biofertilizer production have already begun, including golden wash, liquid fertilizer, biochar, black gold, growth promoter, soil conditioners, among others. And that was Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
Moving on to sports news, and it's cricket. The Netherlands won the toss and elected to bat first against Afghanistan in a must-win match of the 2023 ICC Men's World Cup, played at the Eknas Cricket Stadium in Lucknow, India today. Having already won 3 matches, Afghanistan's hopes of reaching their first-ever World Cup semi-final depend on them. Luck is out of the factor and it will only rely on their performance. They face the Netherlands in the 34th match of the tournament. The Flying Dutch got back on track with a campaign reviving win against battered Bangladesh and are the only team to have defeated South Africa in this tournament. And that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekaka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, the Red Cloud Summit is happening from the 3rd to the 5th of November this year in Hall A of the BMICH from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. ICT professionals are invited to participate the event with Oriel Cloud offerings over this 3-day summit. This event is jointly organized by State Trading Corporation and Oriel IT, a global technology company that specializes in artificial intelligence services and machine vision technology. The company is making big waves across the globe and the spheres of software development along with AI-based research and development, data science solutions, IT outsourcing, UI and UX and cloud services. Meanwhile, President Singh declared key event in line with the Sri Lankan government's vision for digitization. Oriel IT has sponsored EduCert, a non-profit organization that works to protect children from cybercrimes. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekaka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news. Sri Lanka plans to commence a second iteration of Sri Lanka's Revenue Administration Management Information System by December, according to State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya, who said it would lower the burden on the true taxpayer. State Minister further said that the new digitized system will enable Sri Lanka to raise tax revenues significantly. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, moving on to the weather report. The Meteorology Department says prevailing showery weather condition is expected to enhance today. Showers or thunder showers will occur over most parts of the island in the night. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the Sabaragamu, Central, Uva and North Central provinces and in the Puttlam and Mannar districts. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters are likely at some places elsewhere. The showers will occur in the Eastern Province and in the Jaffna and Mudathir districts during the morning too. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the Sabaragamu, Central and Uva provinces during the mornings. And that was the weather report. And now to conclude this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. The head of state appoints a commission to amend the electoral laws to suit the present-day needs. The president inaugurates Infotel exhibition to drive Sri Lanka's digital transformation. A landmark $15 million grant strengthens Indo-Lanka Buddhist ties. 11 Sri Lankans safely arrive in Egypt from Gaza. A 22-year-old injured in Petar shop fire succumbed to injuries. Litre gas prices to be increased from tomorrow. In news overseas, Blinken meets Netanyahu to push for concrete steps to protect Gaza civilians. And in sports, Netherlands put Afghanistan to bowl first in a must-win game. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Back to your effervescent hostess, Sandhi Tavam, to keep you entertained till end of transmission. Over to you, Sandhi.